Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is SUKKAH Daf Chav Ches. We begin 2 lines from the top of the Amud. Tanu Rabbanon, says the Gemara. We learned in a Brisa. Now this is a continuation of the discussion we began yesterday involving Rabbi Eliezer, who refused to get involved in a halachic discussion pertaining to something which he had not heard from his Rebbe. He was very meticulous about only saying over things which he had already heard. He wouldn't originate anything on his own. Continues the Gemara in the same vein. Tanu Rabbanan Maaseh, there was another story by Rabbi Eliezer. Sheshavas begodel ha'elyon. Rabbi Eliezer spent Shabbos in the upper Godel, and the people took advantage of his presence. They presented many shilas. V'sho'alu shloishim halachos b'hilchos sukkah. They presented him 30 questions regarding halachos of sukkah. And how did he respond? Shtei Misrei Amar Lam Shamati. On 12 he responded, yeah, I actually heard from my Rebbe. The halacha is such and such. Shmoina Asar Amar Lam Lo Shamati. Regarding the remaining 18, he says, sorry, I hadn't heard anything from my Rebbe, I don't know. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, Chiluf Hadvarim, he had a different version. The numbers are meant to be reversed. Shmoina Asar Amar Lahem Shamati. On account of 18, he responded, yeah, I heard from my Rebbe, the halacha is such and such. Shtemesrei Amar Lahem Lo Shamati. On the remaining 12, he said, Lo Shamati, sorry, I hadn't heard anything regarding these. Amrullah, said, they responded to him, Kol Dvarecha Einon Elo Mipi Hashmo. You mean to say that everything you're going to say is only from what you heard from your Rebbe? You're not going to introduce anything on your own? How come? Amar Lam, he responds, Hiskaktuni loimar davar sheloi shamati mipi rabbi. Do you mean to say that you're going to press me to say something which I hadn't heard from my Rebbe? From my Rebbeim? No. I'm not going to be pushed into doing that. That's my minhag, and it's absolute. In fact, he continued and he said, it's not because I'm not diligent in my learning or I wasn't present in the Beis Medrash when these halachas were discussed. I was always there. But if it wasn't taught by my Rebbeim, I'm going to leave it at that. Throughout my entire life, nobody preceded me to the Beis Medrash. I was always there first. Nor did I sleep once I was there. Whether a deep sleep or even a short nap, I was always alert and awake and listening to what was going on. Nor did I leave anybody behind when I left. I was always the last one out. I never engaged in frivolous conversation. So although I was there, attuned, into it, still, I'm only going to say something which I heard from my Rebbeim. And the fact that I'm unsure about the halachas that you asked me is not due to my laxity, to the fact that I wasn't around, that I was absent, I wasn't paying attention. No, it's because it wasn't discussed and it wasn't given over by my teachers. And I always adhered to this practice. I have a minhag not to say anything over, not to teach something which I hadn't heard from previous generations. Let's go over to Rashi, 3 lines from the top. It says Rashi, Sichas Chulin. I never engaged in Sichas Chulin, Divrei Havai, B'schoik, frivolous, lightheaded conversation. Kalaymar, Masha Safek Biyadi. What he meant to say is as follows. He wasn't trying to be boastful. He was just trying to explain himself. Masha Safek Biyadi, the fact that I'm uncertain about these halachas, Le'mipnei, Shaloi Torachti B'chal Eila, isn't due to lack of effort and diligence. And it's actually not possible that my Rebbeim would have discussed these halachis or any halachis, and I would not have been there, meaning I was always there. And I simply can't say something which I hadn't heard. Shukkahi midasi. That's my minhag. Continues the Gemara in the second wide line. So this was Rabbi Lezer's minhag, and in fact, he was following the minhag of his Rebbe, Rabbi Yehuda ben Zakkai, who also had this custom. Something that he heard, he would say over. He wouldn't originate anything on his own. In fact, says the Gemara, Amru Olav, Al Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, the following was related regarding Rabbi Yehuda, Miyamav, throughout his entire life. Lo yisach sichas chulin. He didn't engage in idle chatter. You wouldn't notice him walking 4 ames without speaking Torah, without wearing tefillin. Nobody beat him to Beis Medrash. He was always there first. He wouldn't sleep or nap or doze in the Beis Medrash. He would walk through unclean alleyways. He wouldn't even contemplate words of Torah, which was a chumrah. Nor would he ever leave somebody in Beis Medrash when he leaves, meaning he would be the last one out. Nobody would ever notice him sitting idle, doing nothing. Rather, he would be sitting and always speaking words of Torah. He was the one who would open the doors to welcome his Talmidim into the Beis Medrash. And he as well wouldn't say something unless he heard it from his Rebbe. He would never announce, Rabbi Yisai, it's time to go home. It's time to leave the Beis Medrash. No, he would never do that. Except for twice. Erev Pesach. Have to do the Korban Pesach. Have to put the kids to sleep so that they're alert and awake for the Seder. And Va'arve Yom Kippurim, Erev Yom Kippur, to go out and eat in advance of Yom Kippur. So this was Rabbi Yehuda ben Zakkai, V'chein Hoya Rabbi Lezer Talmido Yinoyeg Achrov. And likewise, Rabbi Lezer, his Talmud, the one that we discussed earlier, followed in the same practice, followed the same track. And that explains why Rabbi Lezer as well refused to discuss halachos on matters which he hadn't had clarity, received with clarity from his Rebbeim. Continues to Martanu Rabbanim. Shmoinim Talmidim. Now we're going to see the greatness of Rabbi Yehuda ben Zakkai. Hillel HaZaken had 80 Talmidim. Shloishim Mehen, 30 of them, were on such a high level, Ru'uyim Shetishra Alein Shchina K'Moshe Rabbeinu. They were roy, they were fitting to have the Shechina rest on them like Moshe Rabbeinu. Oh, the Mefarshim say Hashruas HaShechina isn't the same as Nevuah. When it comes to Nevuah, Moshe Rabbeinu's level of prophecy surpassed anybody before or after him. We're speaking about their Madrega regarding Hashruas HaShechina, which is a bit different. And in that respect, they paralleled Moshe Rabbeinu's Madrega. So that was the top 30. And we have the bottom 30. And we had 80 Talmidim. Top 30 like Moshe Rabbeinu. The lower 30, there were such tzaddikim that they had the ability to get the sun to stop, as what happened by Yeshua ben Nun when he got the sun to stop during the Milchama with the Gevonim. So there was such a high madrega that they were roy to deserve such a nes. There were 20 Talmidim somewhere in the middle between these 30 and these 30. Somewhere in the middle. Now, Gadol Shebekulan, the greatest Talmud amongst them all, was Yonasan ben Uziel. Katan Shebekulan, the smallest, the lowest madrega, was Rabbi Yehuda ben Zakkai. And listen to how the Gemara describes Rabbi Yehuda ben Zakkai, who was the least, the smallest of all Talmidim. Amru Olav al Rabbi Yehuda ben Zakkai. The following was said regarding Rabbi Yehuda. He learned everything. Shlo yineach mikra. He didn't leave behind Torah Shebechsav, Mishnah, Shnayos, Brises, Torah Shebal Peh, Gemara. Analysis, delving into the depth of the halachas of Mishnayos. So although he was a Tana, but they had Gemara in those days as well. The understanding, the delving into, the analysis of the halachas, comparing differentiating. Everything we have in Gemara, they already basically discussed in those days as well, before Gemara was written. So we had everything. Everything covered. Rashi says, all the drashes, extra letters, extra word, and what they're alluding to. All the gzeres, takanis, the Rabbanan, which came to safeguard the Torah. They delved into human nature and figured out how to erect gzeres and safeguards and precautions. Kalam v'chamurim, these are the kal v'chermes that a person can present on his own. Ugzeres shavis, tkufais, the study of astronomy, the gematriyos, and all the things that we learn from gematriyos. Even some halachas I learned from gematriyos. Sichas malachi ashoris v'sichas shedim v'sichas the kolam. Rashi says lo yadanamai. I'm not sure what these things are. And some Farshim explain, based on the Rashbam and Bava Basra, Sichas Malachi Ashoris, how to write a kamiyah, an amulet, to address malachim, to manipulate the malachim, so to speak. Sichas Shedim, how to do that to the Shedim. Sichas Tekalim, some sort of conversations that the palm trees have with each other. So all the chachmois, everything, all the secrets of nature, he knew. Mishalis Kaivsin, analogies of launderers, laundromats, Mishalis Shu'alim, of foxes. Rashi explains, we were trying to explain a deep concept. He presented all types of Mishalim. He knew them all. Davar Gadol, Vidavar Katan. He knew the Davar Gadol and the Davar Katan. What is that? Davar Gadol is referring to Masim Merkava, the description of the heavenly arrangements. Davar Katan, Havayis, the Abaye V'Rava. All the doubts and the questions and the sfekas and the boyis that we have in the Gemaras. Abaye said this, Rava said that. He had already touched on them in his days as well. So Masa Gadol is referring to something which is beyond our comprehension, Masa Merkava, and Davar Katan referring to something that we can relate to. Questions, answers in the Gemara. So he had everything covered. L'kayim Hashem in fulfillment of the pasuk, Lahanchel Ayhava Yesh. Voitzroi Seim Amalit. Torah says, Hashem says, I'm going to bequeath, I'm going to give my beloved everything, and their storehouses I would fill up. So Rabbi Yehuda Zakeh was such great siyat d'shmaya. He was able to encompass the entire Torah. Says the Gemara, now you see that the smallest b'madrega of all the Talmidim reached such great heights. Rabbi Yochanan, who was the smallest of all the Talmidim, look how far he reached. Gadol shebekulan al chaskama v'kama, certainly the greatest one amongst them all, reached really great heights. And who was that? That was Rabbi Yonis ben Azil. In fact, Amru Olav Al Yonis ben Azil, and the following was related regarding Yonis ben Azil. When he was sitting engaged in learning, he emitted such great kedusha and holiness around him. Kol oiv shepareach olav miyad nisraf. Any bird flying overhead would become immediately incinerated. Ibn Chananel says, Koloimar ziv hashchina hayu b'meishavai. The ziv hashchina was present where he was learning. Taisus learns the words of Torah that he spoke were so pure. It was like the Torah given at Har Sinai, which was surrounded by fire. Here as well, it came along with fire. Rashi learns the malachim came to listen to his Torah. Malachim consist of fire, so it was all fiery, and birds overhead would just burn up. Let's go over to Rashi, who will give us an in-depth pirush of all these concepts, mikra, midrash. So Rashi here is 9 lines from the top. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Zakkai delved into everything, all aspects of Torah, beginning with Mikra, over to Mishnah, says Rashi, Kigoin Mishnah, Brisa, Shoshi Sistar, the Mishnayos, the Brisas that we have. Gemara, now this is a little bit of a shiloh. Gemara during his time, it was pre-Amirayim. We're speaking about Rabbi Yehuda ben Zakkai, who was a Tana. Explains Rashi. Gemara is a general term for in-depth understanding of the Mishnayos, of the halachis. Gemara zuhi svara, analytics. Zuhi svara shai tanoim achroinim medachtekim b'divrei rishonim hastumim lefarsha. Even tanoim were engaged in Gemara to be medactic, to figure out the pshat in the halachas presented by the tanoim before them. V'litin b'hem tam k'moishe also ha'amoraim achar tanoim. Just as we have the Amoraim come to explain the Tanaim. Shepirshu divrei Tanaim shelafneim, v'kavu behen Gemara, v'oise diik shebimei Tanaim nikra shas. So all this analysis, examination, delving into the reasons and the pshat and the comparisons and the distinctions, whatever we have in Gemara is really something which is a culmination of a long process which began already during the days of the Tanaim. Halachis, what is that? Halacha l'meshim Sinai, going good, v'lova, the defnakuma, as we had earlier in the Masechta, all kinds of aspects relating to mechitzos, shiurin, chatzitzin, mechitzin, eser natiyas, arav, nisachmayim, all types of halacha l'meshim Sinai. Dikdukte Torah, what is that? Ribuy oisis, extra words, extra letters in the Torah, shabon lidrosh ben ribuyim umiutim, which are coming to teach us all kinds of halachis. Going Ezrach loitzi anashim is actually a drasha we're going to have in the Gemara soon. Shedikteka haTorah b'lishon lichtov ois yisera lilamid. So by paying attention to the wording and the spelling of the Torah, we see all kinds of halachas. Diktukei seifrim, what is that? Sheisifu l'daktik achar masei abris. The Chachamim paid close attention to human behavior, human nature, which enabled them to establish all types of gzeros and precautions. L'hachmer l'asis siyag v'oznaim l'Torah. The gazru gzeros l'harchis adam and avera. All kinds of safeguards, fences around the halachas of Torah. With the kavasav b'chiros, we find a similar term used in Maseches B'chiros. Ger habal lekabel Torah olav. Suppose a ger wants to convert. He says, I'm accepting everything in the Torah except chutz medavar echad. Ein mekavan oisai. Doesn't work. Rabbi Yossi Omer Chiddush, afilu diktik echad b'diktui seifim. Even if he refuses to commit himself to exera de rabbanon, his ger is not valid. Kalam v'chamurim, what is that? Dvarim halamedim b'kal v'chomer. Our kal v'chomer that we have in the Gemara. Shenitnu lodin me'atzman l'kol adam. Anybody can present a kal v'chomer, v'loi pirshu kulam b'Sinai. They weren't all explained in Sinai. The later Doris introduced their own kal v'chomers. Gzeres shavis, dvarim halamedim b'gzeres shava, things that are learned through gzeres shava, tkufos. That's the cheshbon hiluch hacham u'levana. The way the sun, the way the moon orbits, all the cheshbonis involving that is called tkufos. V'gematriyos. Dvarim halamedim b'loshen gematria. All types of things which are derived through acronyms and gematrias and numerical values. Could go in sheshach baval ba'atbash. The atbash is the reversed gematria. So the aleph is considered like a tuf, and the bay is like a shin. Kastem leiv kamay ba'atbash, shada monan ba'atbach. All types of formulas of remazim and hints, which allow us to unlock the secrets of the psukim. V'chein lefi minyan ha'osis. This is the more simple, standard gematria. Numerical value of letters and words. Could go in stam nazir shleishim yoyim. How do we know that a nazir is meant to conduct his naziris for 30 days through gematria? Mekadesh yiyah. And yiyah is begematria 30. Sichas malachi asher, sichas shedim, sichas dekolm, loidana ma'i. Mishalish kaifsin and mishalish shual. Shiyastu kadmonim. The earlier Duras established all types of mishalim. Loses amaslo teichosam. In order to present their teichacha, they wanted to reprimand Klal Yisrael for doing something wrong. They would present it in a flowery way, in a way that it's accepted more graciously. They would present it as stories of laundromats and foxes. Kol iboilud alabai v'rava masapkulu. Listen to this. Every shaila which was discussed and debated between Abai and Rava, it was already known to them in the earlier Doros. Ubekulan nosan asliboy v'nosan ben tam. Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai delved into all these aspects of Torah. Every shaila, every suffix that was presented later on was already covered in his days as well. So although these things were already addressed, but they were forgotten. As the Doros got weaker and the memory waned, their abilities lessened, and later on they began having this focus again, and that's how we have the Gemara and many shilos presented by Abai v'Rabba. But reality, says Rashi, these things were already discussed in the earlier Doros. So we see that pretty much everything was already brought down Sinai and discussed in the earlier Doros, even though things appear to have been introduced in later Doros, but really the way Rashi presents it, it was all known earlier. But because of forgetfulness, it had to be reintroduced in the later Doros. Says the Gemara, this was Rabbi Yehuda ben Zakkai, who was the smallest amongst the Talmidim of Hillel HaZaken, but the greatest one. Yonas ben Aziel, could you imagine where he was standing? In fact, when he learned Torah, the birds would burn overhead. Nisraf, says Rashi, Shoya Malachi Hashoris, Miskabtzin Svivav, Lishmoya Divrei Torah Repiv. They would come listen to his Torah. It was a fiery environment. Everything got burnt. In fact, there was a story with the Chavetz Chaim's Rebbe. He had a Rebbe, Reb Nachemka. Reb Nachemka Meharonda. And everybody knew that he would come back at night to the shul, lock the door behind him. Nobody knew what he was doing there. Chavetz Chaim was still a youngster, a bacher. And he was very curious. What is Reb Nachemka doing in the Beis Medrash? One night, Chavetz Chaim hid beneath a bench. Everybody left the shul. It got dark. They locked the door. He's waiting and waiting. And a couple hours later, towards Chatzos, he hears footsteps. And the door creaks open. And sure enough, Reb Nachemka arrives. And Chavetz Chaim is peering from his hiding place. He sees Reb Nachemka going over to the bima, pulls out a sefer of some sort, and started learning. With such an enthusiasm. Suddenly, Chavetz Chaim sees flames of fire coming down and surrounding his Rebbe. It was just an astounding sight. He was learning Torah and surrounded by fire. The Malach HaShoros were coming to listen to his Torah. And somehow he was able to hold his own and not expire from fright. And after observing this scene, now he understood why his Rebbe comes into the Beis Medrash in the middle of the night. You know, Rav Baruch Ber, Rav Chaim Brisker's Talmud, when he heard the story, he said that he's more impressed with the fact that the Chavetz Chaim, as a bocher, witnessed the scene. He was able to be zeicha to see the fire. That in itself is a revealing fact about the Chavetz Chaim in his youth. So that's the concept of Malachi HaShoros coming to learn his Torah. And I once heard a nice shmuz from Chaim Minstrita, a mashgiach in Yeshiva Staten Island. This was a shmuz before Sliches. And he quoted this Gemara, well-known Gemara. A bird flying over him would burn up. Why? Because he was learning Torah. What are we all doing? We're learning the same Torah, same words. Why are there no birds burning overhead when we learn Torah? That was his shaila to the Bachra. And he answered based on Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lutzato and Derech Hashem. He has a discussion regarding the madregas of Torah, and Ramchal brings this Gemara and explains, true, as far as the essence of Torah, it's all the same. Whether we learn it, whether Yonis ben Aziel learns it, and really, it contains that same power to burn up the bird. What's the difference? Approach, connection, attitude, ava, yira, the hachana. If we connect through Torah the same level as he did, with love, with fear, with kedusha, with tahara, then that winning combination, a person on such a high madrega with that Torah, generates a tremendous, tremendous result. A result which can burn up a bird. But if one is not on that madrega, he approaches Torah with very little preparation, very little personal introspection and perfection of midos, etc. And sure, he's learning the same Torah, but it doesn't have the same effect. So it's the Torah, but a person on a high madrega together you reach great heights. So that was his shmuz, to be mechazek the olam and the yeshiva. How important the hachana, the avodah shevalev, how important it is for the success of Liban Torah. Okay, let's go over to the Mishnah. Misha haya roishe v'ruba b'sukkah v'shulchana b'teich habayis. If one happened to be sitting, head and body in sukkah, but his table's in the house. Beis Shammai poislim, ubeis Hillel machshirin. Beis Shammai say, you're not meant to sit in that manner, because, as you learned back in the Gimel Amud Aleph, Shammai yemashach, there's a gzera. This fellow might be drawn after his food, after his table. He might end up out of the sukkah. Ubeis Hillel machshirin, they're not concerned about him being drawn out of the sukkah. Now you may remember, the Gemara of Gimel actually tells us that there are two discussions wrapped together in this first opening statement of the Mishnah. Number one, as we just mentioned, you have a large size sukkah, but the table's in the house. There's another issue, which is contained in this opening part of the Mishnah, which is the sukkah size. What's the minimum size of a sukkah? Beis Shammai maintain, sukkah has to be large enough to accommodate Roishe Rubai and Shulchanit, 7 by 7 tefachim. A sukkah without table accommodations isn't really worth much. It needs to be a diras kva. It has to serve as some sort of dwelling, some sort of mokim chashav, which is a mokim achila as well. Whereas Beis Hillel maintain Roishe Rubai is sufficient, a diras arai is enough. So two halachas. The minimum size of a sukkah, Beis Shammai say, needs to be at least something which can contain a table as well. Whereas Beis Hillel don't require that. And number two, a large size sukkah where he happened to have his table in the house. According to Beis Shammai, you can't eat in that manner. In fact, Tosfos Nav Gimel says a chiddush that because you're not meant to do that, you're not even yotzei min ha-Torah. Somehow the Chachamim cancel the mitzvah. Whereas Beis Hillel not concerned about Shammai Yimashech, you're yotzei. Continues the Mishnah, Amar lahem Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel addressed Beis Shammai. Wasn't there a story which went like this? The elders of both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel went. Levakar es Rabbi Yehuda Kessler. They went to visit Rabbi Yehuda when he was ill. And they noticed that he was sitting. He was in the sukkah, and his table was in the house. They didn't say anything. Apparently, it's fine. Amar lam Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai responded, Misham Raya? You bring a Raya from there? Actually, Avhim Amrulai. They did tell him. Maybe after you left, but they told him. Amrulai, Im Keino Yisanoyik. If this is the way you were sitting in your sukkah throughout your life, Lo Kiyamta, Mitzvahs, Sukkah Miyamecha. You were never Yotze Mitzvah Sukkah. Just the opposite. They did tell him that this is not the way to be Yotze Mitzvah Sukkah. Says the Mishnah, Noshim v'avodim uktanim, women, servants, who have the same level of obligation to mitzvahs as Noshim, uktanim, under bar mitzvah. P'tur min ha-sukkah. Katan she'ein tzarech li'imay chayiv v'sukkah. However, a katan, once he reaches the age of chinuch, he's no longer fully dependent upon his mother, then he is chayiv v'sukkah, of course, midirabon. But if he's younger than that, he's pater. But some are machmer. In fact, we have a masa. V'yoda kalose shel Shammai HaZaken. Shammai HaZaken's daughter-in-law gave birth. And right away, he wanted that newborn to be in the sukkah. Upiches es maziva. He broke open the ceiling. V'sichach al gabi hamita. Placed some schach right over the bed. Bishvil katan. So that the kid will be included in the sukkah. Menan immediately says the Gemara, how do we know that women are pater from sukkah? The Tana Rabban. Listen to this price. The pasuk says, "Kol ezrach bi Yisrael yeshu basukkos." The word ezrach, says the Gemara, ze ezrach, referring to all Jewish citizens, men, women, all equal. Ha ezrach, the extra hey, lo yitzis hanashim, will exempt the nashim. Rashi explains, ha ezrach means the stronger one, physically stronger amongst the genders, the anoshim achayev, but noshim apat. The pasuk says, "Kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael." What's kol? Coming to include kol l'rabis saktanim, even ketanim achayev. The Gemara, of course, will ask from our Mishnah that a katan is pater. We'll get to that soon. Amar, let's just go back to this price. Ha'ezrach lo yitzes anosh. Ha'ezrach is a mute to exempt women. L'meimer the Ezrach bein noshim bein gavri mashim. Do you mean to say that the word Ezrach without the hey is all inclusive, men, women, and ha is a miyut for women? Is that so? We have a brisa which seems to present it in the reverse. Vatanya. Ha Ezrach. This is a pasuk by Yom Kippur. You meant to observe the Inui on Yom Kippur. And the Brisa says, Ha-Ezrach, with a hey, is l'rambais es hanoshim, ha-Ezrach is, shechayavas be'inui. If we would only say Ezrach, maybe it's only men. Ha-Ezrach is coming to include even the noshim. Noshim ha-Ezrach is. The women citizens who are obligated to engage in Inui as well. Alma Ezrach Gavri Mashma. Apparently, Ezrach on its own is only alluding to men. Ha-Ezrach includes the women. Whereas by us, by Sukkah, it was presented in the reverse. Ezrach on its own is all-inclusive. Ha-Ezrach is exclusive. So which way is it? Amar Rabba Hilchas Haninu. You meant to know that only one of those two approaches is the correct one. But we're depending on Halacha L'Mishim Sinai here. Vasmechinu Rabban Nakroi. The Rabbanan took the Halacha L'Mishim Sinai and sort of supported it in the pasuk, found it in the pasuk. It's hinted in the pasuk. So the way Rashi explains, it's as follows. We seem to have a contradiction. Is ha-Ezrach mema'it noshim? Is ha-Ezrach marbe noshim? Which way does it go? Says Rabbah, really only one of those two approaches is the correct one. The other halacha was actually based on Halacha Mishim Sinai. And the pasuk, the drasha, Ezrach, regarding that specific halacha wasn't really the true source of the halacha. Because it wasn't really the proper way of darshaning that pasuk. It was just a hint, a smachtabam. Says the Gemara, Haikra, Vayilchas. Okay, which one is it? Which approach is the correct way to interpret the pasuk? Which one of the two approaches? We're not sure. Vayilchas, which one is the one that's incorrect? That's really just the Halacha Mishim Sinai utilizing the pasuk. We have to know how to. Let's say we find the Ezrach somewhere else in the Torah. What's the way to how do we define? How do we interpret it properly? Which is the correct approach? Is Ezrach referring to just men and ha-Ezrach adding the women? Or is it the other way around? Ezrach is all-inclusive and ha-Ezrach is coming to exempt the women. Which way is it? That's the first question. V'su, another kasha. Kra lamali. Hilchas lamali. Why do we even need a pasuk or halacha mishim Sinai to teach us these halachas? That an isha is potter from sukkah? Ha-sukkah mitzvah say shazman groma. We know that sukkah doesn't apply to women. It's a time-related mitzvah. We know that already. Why do we need a special drasha? Regarding Yom Kippur as well, we need a pasuk, we need a drasha, halacha to include noshim in Yom Kippur. Yom Kippurim, Rabbi Yehuda Marav nafka. We can learn that from elsewhere. The Amar Rabbi Yehuda Marav. Yechein tanad v'Rabbi Shmuel. Amar kra isha. Pasuk says whether an ish or an isha who will transgress, do an avera, they get an oynish, and we learn from here. When it comes to Yisurim, Averis, Einshim, all genders are equal. There's no need to be marbe the nashim. So we have two shilas. Number one, we seem to have a contradiction regarding how to approach the word ha'ezrach. So Rabbah tells us one is correct, one is incorrect. Which one is correct? That's number one. Number two, why do you have to bother teaching me that an isha is potter from sukkah, or that an isha is chayiv in Yom Kippur? We know that already. So the Gemara will seek to answer both kashas. Amar Abai, lo ilam sukkah hilchasa. You want to know which one is the correct one? The one by Yom Kippur is the correct one. Ezrach can perhaps be referring to only men. Ha-Ezrach will include the women as well. That's the correct approach. When we say by Sukkah that Ha-Ezrach is being Mamayid the Noshim, that's not really the true interpretation of the pasuk. Sukkah Hilchasa. The discussion by Sukkah is based on Halacha Mishim Sinai, and we're just using the pasuk as as a remez, as a hint, as a basis for the halacha. But in reality, ha'ezrach is an inclusive term. That's number one. You want to know which one's right? Ha'ezrach, inclusive. Regarding your other shaila, why do we need a pasuk to be mamayit an isha from sukkah? You need halacha mishmesina for that? It's a mitzvah. Zeshas man grom, says the Gemara v'itzrach. We do need. Saka that perhaps there would be room to think teishvu ken tadura. Pasuk says vasukas teishvu shivas yam. Doesn't say vasukas tiyu teishvu. You meant to live properly in your sukkah. Teishvu ken taduru. Your sukkah dwelling should resemble your all year round residence. Ma'adira ishvi ishtay. Just as normally a person lives with his wife, it's one unit, one family unit. Av sukkah ishvi ishtay. Likewise, in the sukkah, it's meant to be ishvi isha. So perhaps the isha should be chayiv in sukkah. Although it's a time-related mitzvah, is an exception. Kamash malan. Halacha comes and tells us, no, an isha is pot. Rav Amar says, I'll give you another reason why we need a halacha to exempt an isha. Because otherwise I would think she's chayiv in sukkah. Itzrich, sagad adachmina, there would be room to think. Yolev chamisha asar mechag hamatzis. You remember the other day we had a Gzera Shava between Sukkot and Pesach. We connect the term chamisha asar, which is mentioned in both contexts. So perhaps we'll connect Sukkot to Pesach. Yolev chamisha asar mechag hamatzis. Ma'al halan noshem chayavis. Just as an isha is chayiv in eating matzah on Pesach, even though it's a mitzvah sezeshes man grama, Rashi brings a Gemara that mitzvahs matzah is a flip side of Isser Chametz, which certainly applies to an isha as well. Likewise, matzah, she's chayiv, and I would think perhaps we'll carry that over to sukkah as well. Malahalan noshem chayaves. Just as matzah applies to an isha, afkan noshem chayaves, likewise sukkah applies to an isha, kamash malon. We need a halacha to tell us it's not so. Says the Gemara, v'hasha de amras sukkah hilchasa. So now you've concluded that the halacha by sukkah, the halacha that an isha is pater, is based on halacha mishmesina. It's not based on the pasuk, because the pasuk ha'ezrach is actually an inclusive term, not an exclusive term. So if it's based on a halacha mishmesina, kral amali. What's the pasuk of a ha'ezrach? Kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael yeshu b'sukkos. What's it coming to tell me? What's it coming to include? L'rabbi sagir. To include converts. Sagad dechamina ha'ezrach b'Yisrael amrachmana. Well, it's sagirim. Perhaps since the pasuk uses the word b'Yisrael, kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael yeshu b'sukkos. Perhaps I'll say, well, only Yisrael, an original Yisrael, is chayiv in sukkah, but not a ger. Kamash malon. Ha'ezrach includes the gerim as well. Now, we have one more thing left here. Why do we need a pasuk to include Nashim in Hilchas Yom Kippur? Yom Kippurim, the Rabbi Yehuda Marav Nafka. We can learn it from there. From the pasuk which says that Neisha and Neish are equal when it comes to Yisur and Einshin, which certainly applies to Yom Kippur. There's Alav, there's Karas. Says the Gemara, you're right. We're not referring to the actual Yom Kippur day. It's needed. We know that one is meant to add some of his own free time to Yom Kippur. He meant to advance Yom Kippur into the weekday. He meant to begin observing Yom Kippur before Yom Kippur arrives. He meant to extend Yom Kippur past. There's a mitzvah I'll say to do so. We learn this in the Gemara and Yoma. Teisefes Inoi, adding to the stress, adding to the Inoi of Yom Kippur. And we need to come and include an Isha for that as well. Perhaps I would think, we find that the Torah exempts that period, that time period of Teisefes Yom Kippurim from Einish, from warning. It's merely a mitzvah say. Torah downgrades it. It's not the same level as Yom Kippur itself. It's a mitzvah say to observe Teisefes as well. So perhaps I would think this doesn't apply to Noshim. Why? Explains the Ra'ah. It's a mitzvah say. And it's a mitzvah say Shazman Groma. Oh, that's why I need a pasuk. ha'ezrach, that an isha is included even in this halacha of Teisefes Yom Kippurim. It's one package. She's chayiv in Yom Kippur, she's chayiv in Teisefes as well. Okay, so in conclusion, the bottom line was that I would think an isha is chayiv in Sukkah, whether it's because Teishvu came to Duru, or because we connect it to Pesach, which is chayiv in. Halacha Moshe Messina comes and tells us otherwise. An isha is potter from Sukkah. We need a pasuk of a ha'ezrach to include Noshim in Yom Kippur. And it's coming specifically for Teisefes Yom Kippur. Continues the Gemara. Amar, let's review. The word kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael, yeshiv b'sukkos, is coming l'rabos es haktanim. Even ktanim are chayiv. What do you mean by tanan? Take a look at the Mishnah. Noshim b'avodim ktanim turim nasukkah. Like Kasha, depends how old he is, says the Gemara. The answer is kan bekatan shegel lechinuch. The brisa, which includes ktanim, are ktanim which have already arrived. They're already old enough. They're roi for chinuch, for training. So the chayiv and sukkah. Kan bekatan shelo yegel lechinuch. The Mishnah is speaking about very small children who are not yet at chinuch age. Says the Gemara, katan shegel lechinuch when they're rabbanon. Even if he's a gel chinuch, it's not a chiv not Torah. Only begins at adulthood. How could the brisa say kol? The pasuk is marba a cotton shegel chinuch. Says, well, you're right. Midrabban. It's really only din rabban. Across machta ba'amu. Right? We commonly use psukim as a support, as a hint, as an allusion to the halacha of Torah, the halacha of the rabban. So you're right. Even a gel chinuch is only rabban. The word kol is just a remes to that halacha. Now the Mishnah tells us a cotton is pater unless he's already old enough. He's somewhat independent. He's no longer fully dependent on his mother. Katan she'ein tzarech le'imo is chayiv. How do you determine that? Hechi dami katan she'ein tzarech le'imo. How do you define a katan she'ein tzarech le'imo? Amrit v'Rabbi Yanai kol she'nifne. When he tends to his needs, ve'ein imo mechan chasei, and doesn't need his mother to wipe him. So the fact that he's not so dependent upon his mother indicates some sort of level of independence, which allows him to go out to the sukkah, to his father, and his chayiv b'chinuch. Rabbi Shimon Lakish Eimer is a different way to determine. Kol shenir mishnasa. The child is old enough that when he wakes up in the middle of the night, ve'ene kari ima, he doesn't call out in desperation for his mother, then that's an indication of independence. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? Ima, calling out mother? Gedolim nami karo. Even children who are beyond that age, already older, even independent children, will still call out for their mother all the night. That isn't necessarily an indication of utter dependency. It's not really a true criterion. Says the Gemara, Ella Ema, rather, let's reinterpret it a little different. Kol shenir. How do you know if a child is fully dependent? When he wakes up, so when we see that the child wakes up all the night, he might call out to his mother once, but he doesn't do it persistently, over and over until his mother comes. That's a raya that he's past full dependence. He's already somewhat independent. He's considered ein tzarech le'imoi, and he belongs out in the sukkah with his father. But if he's younger than that, then he's potter from sukkah. The Mishnah concludes with this story. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler. So Shammai HaZaken had a newborn baby in his house, and he created a sukkah, custom-made sukkah. Masa Lister. Does it make sense of being a story which pretty much contradicts what you're trying to say? He's younger than a chinuch. Why would he have to go through this effort? The Mishnah is meant to be learned as though it's missing some words, and the Mishnah is learned as follows. Although min hadin, you're only chayiv the child is already higel chinuch, but there's room to be machmer, even if the child had not yet achieved that level of independence. V'shamay machmer, Shammai was machmer. Umasa nami, there was even a story. V'yoda kalosya shel Shammai HaZaken, his daughter-in-law gave birth. Upichas amaziva, he broke open the ceiling of v'sichach al mita v'shmal cotton and added some schach to incorporate the cotton into the sukkah. Farshim explained. Shammai held that's part and parcel of Teishu came to Duru. You spend sukkahs in the sukkah with your family. So even the newborn is meant to be there. Continues the Mishnah. Kol Shiva Sayam. All throughout the 7 days of Sukkot, Adam Oise Sukkah Kva. One is meant to establish his sukkah as his established place of residence. Basically, alright, and his home is just a place to visit. Now, if he's sitting in the sukkah, it begins to rain. Yordu Geshamim. From what point onward may you leave the sukkah? If it rains enough that the drops dropping into your sukkah would be spoiling your mikvah, some sort of cereal or soup, the mikvah becomes spoiled because of the rain droplets, then you know it's time to leave. It's already called a mitzvah, you're in distress, and you can leave the sukkah. Says the Mishnah, actually, if one experiences rain, and the Rambam says, we're speaking about B'tchila Sachag, when you're, some Farshim explain, it means the first night when you're obligated to sit in your sukkah. That's not really such a good indication. It shows that perhaps what you're doing is not appreciated up high above. Mashlu, Chacham presented a mashal. What is this analogous to? Raining on sukkahs, to a servant who's in the middle of pouring a kais for his master, and the master turns around and shoves the whole pitcher into his face. I'm not interested in your service. And the Mepharshim explained that this is specifically in climates where it's not meant to rain during that time of the year. But otherwise, like in North America, it rains all year round. This is not really much of an indication. Says the Brisa Tanu Rabbanan Kol Shiva Sayam, throughout the 7 days of Sukkot, Adam Oise Sukkah Sekva. His sukkah is meant to be your ikar place of residence. Ubesi Arai in your house, just a secondary place of residence. Ketzad, how do you implement this? Hoyloi Kelim Noim, you had some nice dishes. Mal no sukkah, he brings out his dishes, his silverware to the sukkah. Matzahs nois, he had some nice sheets, some spreads, some beds, some furniture. Mal no sukkah, he transports them to the sukkah as well. Oiche, v'shois u'metayel, and he spends his leisure time besukkah. Minan Amili, how do we know this? The Tanu Rabban. Teishu came to Dura. It's meant to resemble your all year round dwelling. Mikan Amar, we learn from here. Kol Shiva Sayam, Ois Adam Sukkah Sekva, Ubeise Arai. Ketzad, how do you do this? Hoyloi Kelim Noim, he had nice dishes, Ma'al no sukkah, he brings them to the sukkah. Matzos nois, Ma'al no sukkah, Oichel v'shois u'metayel besukkah. U'mishanin besukkah. Oh, here's the chiddush. He's meant to learn even a topic which requires deep analysis, deep concentration. Gemara, Svara, that's also meant to be done in the sukkah. Eini, says the Gemara, is that true? It's a bit difficult to engage in deep learning in a cramped, small area. You need spaciousness, you need avir to broaden your mind, to broaden your horizons. Eini, is that so that even Gemara is meant to be in the sukkah of Amarav? Mikra, that's Teresh B'chsav, U'misna, Teresh B'alpeh, Mishnayis, B'matalat, that's in the sukkah. But V'tunuye, going over the halachas, Svara, the exertion, the analysis, Bar Matalata, that can be done outside the sukkah. Because he's a mitzvah in a cramped place when it comes to learning Gemara. And the Brisa tells us that even Meshanin, which the Gemara assumes to be referring to Svara, dissecting, comparing, analysis, that's meant to be in the sukkah as well. We have a steer. Says the Gemara, there are two types of learning Gemara. Bikiyas, that's in the sukkah. But Ian, that requires breadth, spaciousness, that's out of the sukkah. Lekash, the answer is Habe Migros. If you're going over the Gemara quickly, that's in the sukkah. Habe Yuni. If you're concentrating, you're delving into the depth, that's outside the sukkah. And we know there are two different types of learning Gemara. Kiha, as we find in the following story, the Rava, Vir Rami Bar Chama, those two, Kihavu Kaimi, Mikamei Rav Chizda, when they concluded the shir from Rav Chizda, when they finished listening to the drasha, Mirati Bi Gemara, they would run through the Gemara Badi Adadi with each other. Quick review. V'hada Ma'ani B'svara, when they were done reviewing the facts, V'hada, they would go back Ma'ani B'svara and delve into the reason and the svara, the analysis, what lies behind the halachas. So Gemara has two components: quick, surface, superficial learning, and more in-depth analysis. And that second part needs spaciousness. Aver, Rashi says, needs aver, and that can be done outside the sukkah. Let's go to Rashi on the top line. Kiha, v'shmat ikanam riyata b'leitircha, v'iki iyun b'tircha. We find that when it comes to Gemara, there are two parts, or two methods: quickly without tircha, and mum b'iyun, insights, which requires tircha. Kiavu kaimi mikamei Rav Chizda ba'asa dagmarinu shmat. So after he taught them the shir, first they would run through the Gemara, there were plenty aser, there were plenty muta, and then they would delve into the reasoning. To understand, to challenge, to question, and that's the iyun of the Gemara. Okay, time for a quick chazar of today's daf. We began with Rabbi Lezer, who followed in the ways of his Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who would only say things over which he heard from his Rebbeim. The Gemara describes the 80 Talmidim of Hillel HaZaken. The smallest amongst them was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who covered the entire gamut of Torah and more. And the greatest amongst them, Rabbi Yonasan ben Azil. As the Gemara says, Oif sheparech olav miyad nisraf. We learned that Anoshim achayiv and Sukkah, Noshim not. We learned this from Allah Mishim Sinai. We shouldn't think, well, Teishu came to Dur, includes women as well. We have Gzera Shava to Pesach, include women as well. No. Anisha is potter. A cotton, if he achieved the independence of Igia Lechinuch, his chayiv. How does that work? If he's not tzorach li'imay, we have two interpretations. He doesn't need his mother to clean him, or he doesn't call out desperately for his mother in the middle of the night. We learned that Shammai was machmir. He included the toddlers and newborns as well. We learned that a sukkah is meant to be diras kva, oichel v'shoisim metal b'sukkah, bring all your dishes and your furniture. Regarding Talmud Torah, well, it depends. Torah shebachsa, Baal Peh, that's okay. But something which requires in-depth analysis, iyun, Shabbat Torah, it's too cramped for that. You need spaciousness, you need avir, and that can be done outside the sukkah. Haslacha rav to you and kol tuv.